Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the live chat, the live stream. And welcome to the chat for anyone who shows up. Let's start out with a little bit of music just to get things going. All right, that was our musical introduction. And now for formatting the stuff. I want this audio mixer to stay on top. I guess I'll put it over here, off to the side. Okay. All right, everybody. Today we are going to review 76-16 of the Utah statutes. Utah statute 76-16. And then it's got all these different sections. So it's chapter 16, section 1, section 3, and so on and so forth. Now I've already brought in the words, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I've already turned this into columns, and I've showed how to do that in the past, and I'll show that again in the future, but that's just modifying the page style. I've got this document mostly set up, and I'm going to show the benefit of character styles. But first I'm using some paragraph styles as well, just to establish some kind of order. Pulling out some random unnecessary words and verbiage. Okay, here's another one. Oh, crud. We want to find these different sections and separate them out so we can tell which section is which. Hey, by the way, here's a question for you. Do you know when I watch how I can see how I can move back and forth, side to side, left and right? Not just up and down, but I can use my scroll wheel to go right and left. Do you know how I do that? That's by holding down the shift key. If I hold down the shift key and move the scroll wheel, it allows me to scroll side to side. That's pretty convenient. What I'm looking for is any section heads. Here's one. See where the numbers are? What this is going to do, it's going to help us to have a sense of what the document looks like in terms of what are the major sections, and these are literally called sections. I've also set up a shortcut, as I usually do when I'm applying a lot of these different styles, whether it's paragraph styles or character styles. So I can also just hit F2. What? F2. Paragraph styles. I don't know. I'll just go fix it. I'll go make it work again. This is how we do it. Go down to styles. Find what style we want to apply. That one. Hit modify and then OK. It's always a temptation to hit OK and forget to hit modify. See, now I can use the keyboard shortcut. I got all kinds of shortcuts. See how I have like an extra pilcrow here? See how there's an extra carriage return? There's an extra line break. The paragraph breaks in the middle of a sentence. Well, I've set up a shortcut for myself, so I can just hit F8 or F9, either one. And what it'll do is it'll take out that extra pilcrow, that extra paragraph break, and add a space at the same time. Watch, see, I just click there and then I just press F9 the way I got it set up. So that does make it a lot easier to get rid of these unwanted line breaks. Here's another section head. Now there's two main ways that I've done this, and I don't know which one is more efficient. They both take a bit of time to come through and repair problems. In this case, I'm eliminating unwanted carriage returns, unwanted paragraph breaks, and applying different types of formatting. And then there's another way to do it that has its own set of difficulties. So I'm still trying to figure out what's the best and most efficient manner to do all this. Let me show you where I started. So what I started with is I had found some interesting statutes here in the Utah Code. But it's got 16 sections or so. Maybe a little bit fewer than that, maybe more. Somewhere around 16, 15, 16. So one thing I could do is I could go into each of these sections and I could copy them like this and then go and paste them one by one. And depending on how much material I'm working with, that might be faster. But where I've got all these 16 sections, what I do instead is I come up to the top here. This is just, if you just look up online, if you just look up on DuckDuckGo or Google or whatever your browser is, whatever your search engine is, Utah statutes. And it's also including results for Utah Code. Look, the first thing that comes up is the Utah Legislature. Utah Code and Constitution, Code Archives. Let's just look up the code. See, and this is the whole entire code, all the different sections. But the one that I was looking at was specifically 76, which is the criminal code. And I was looking at one of the chapters that I had found that was really fascinating. Chapter 8, Offenses Against the Administration of Government. Oh, that's the falsification stuff. So that's interesting, but that's not the one I was just looking at. Oh, I'll tell you what it was. I can find it. Oh, it's not even 76. It's 67. So look, if we were in the Utah Code, it was actually not 76. It's actually 67. State officers and employees. Governor, lieutenant governor, auditor, treasurer, deputy officers, so on and so forth. But out of all of this, there's a salary act, personnel files, grievance procedures. And inside of all that is, which one? Chapter 16. So 67, Chapter 16, Utah Public Officers and Employees Ethics Act. I mean, this is buried in the fine print. How is anyone in the world ever going to find this? 76-16. Who would find this except for eagleDog? This is some powerful code right here. Title 67, Chapter 16. So rather than going through individually and copying and pasting each of these individual sections and then going through and going back and working with all the formatting, instead what I've done is I go up to the top. So if I'm in one of the sections, then I don't really have this option. I'm just in the one section. I mean, I do have the PDF option up here, but it's only going to give me a PDF of that one little bit of code. It's not very helpful. So instead what I want to do is go back up to the chapter and go to the download options, PDF, and then just click and drag, or just do Control A. Nope, it's not letting me do Control A. Yo, click and drag. Shift. Come on now. What? There we go. Control A worked. So Control A, Control C, Alt Tab, paste it in unformatted, set up the columns, and then we're off to the races. That's how I've done it this time. I'm still just trying to get as efficient as I can because I got a lot more code that I'm going to be going through. The grammar statutes I will be going through. But today we're covering Utah Employees Ethics Act. In the future, I might use RTF or XML. That might be better. I haven't tried those ones yet. Looks like I'll have to download the file. XML might actually be kind of useful. This might be something I could work with. In the future, once I get a little more chance to review the XML, I might be able to speed up this process eventually. But for right now, the PDF, copy and pasting the text, has been working for me. And then the main problem with the PDF is that what it does is it brings in unwanted line breaks, like this one. And I've found that even with the unwanted line breaks, I think I prefer this method more than the other method of going through one by one. Now, one of the types of paragraph styles that I've been setting up is indentations. And I've also set up some keyboard shortcuts for that. So I just set up my own homemade keyboard shortcut. It doesn't really matter which key it is. It could be any key I want, or which combination of keys. And I end up kind of taking a few minutes and then getting used to them pretty quick, so I can go through and make all these different changes quite speedily. So look, here I want to indent this one a little bit, but this one I want to indent more, see? And this one, oops, get rid of that carriage return. So this one goes indented even more, like that. And you can see that this kind of is like, you kind of get into a zone and you just kind of keep working at it for a while. So I've given enough of an idea of this part of the process to where I'm going to leave the rest of these indentations for later and keep working on some other stuff, because I want to show you about the character styles, and that is what we're going to get into now. If you're just joining me, oh, we got some chat. I'm going to say hi to the chat. If you're just joining me, we're about to get into character styles with regard to formatting, but first I'm going to kind of go back and look through the overall layout of this document. Salt in Exile, hello, welcome to the chat. Justin X, stay inspired to do great work. Luckily it's not flattened. PDFs are garbage documents. I agree. I'm not sure what exactly it means for it to be flattened, but it's definitely shaping up. This document is getting very readable and very understandable. And one of the big advantages that we have at this point now is the... Hey, thanks for saying hi, guys. I'll check the chat more in a bit. I'll put it somewhere where I can see it. Here. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Okay, so now we can get a sense of what this document is really also. It's got... Oh, maybe I'll... Everything's blocked. Let's see. I'm going to try it like that. See what happens. Okay, so this is Utah Statute, no, 67, not 76, 67, there we go. Utah Public Officers and Employees Ethics Act. First section, section 1. Ooh, let's just get rid of these. Boom. Boom. So we're going to go through it and make them like that, because we already know it's 76-16. This is just going to make it easier to read, easier to understand. 4. Improperly disclosing or using private, controlled, or protected information, or using position to secure privileges or exemptions, or accepting employment that would impair independence of judgment or ethical performance. Exception. 3 was definitions, and 4 is all this stuff. Now look, I'm already ready to show you guys about character formatting and the difference between character formatting and paragraph formatting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my styles. And there's different types of styles. There's a bunch of tabs at the top. The ones we'll commonly use are page style, paragraph styles, and then right now we're going into character style. Now remember, when we change the paragraph style, it's going to change the entire paragraph. See, the whole paragraph down to that next carriage return, down to that next pilcrow mark, the whole paragraph is going to change. With character styles, we're just going to change one little character, what that one little character looks like. And so we want to first make sure that we're not on the paragraph styles, but on the character styles. We're going to select the character. We're going to say new style from selection. I always start my style names with an A double underscore at the beginning, just so they rise up to the top of the list, so they don't get buried down alphabetically. And this is just going to be big num for a big number character style. Now I'm going to go in and modify this style directly. I'm not going to change anything on the text itself. Although there's another way to do it, I'll show you that as well. But first I'm just going to go modify the character style directly. I just want this thing to have a huge font. And make sure it's bold. Yeah, it's bold. That's pretty good. Let's see if it looks any better or worse if we do Arial black. About the same. Maybe a little bit stronger. I like it that way. So why don't I just highlight it and just make it bold and make it 16? Because I'd have to go through and do that to every single one of these numbers. And then if I make a change, I'd have to go back and fix them all. Now I'm going to show you the other way to modify it. Let's say instead of going in and modifying the style directly, let's say instead that I'd made some change to the style. Maybe I made it this big instead. Well, another way to update the style is to go over here, select the style, and then choose from the drop-down style menu and say update selected style. That'd be another way to update your style. Well, now when I apply this style to this number here, see how it gets that same formatting as the other one? Well, let's say I want it, that's too big, so I actually want to make it smaller. Like that big, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to update the selected style, and what you'll see is that this other number is going to update at the same time. Watch. See how that number 1 got smaller as well? So I can update all these character styles at the same time. Now for this little character style here, I'm going to create a new character style. A__ medium num. Med num. Okay. So this one's not going to be as big as the other one. But it will be bold and it's going to be bigger than the surrounding text. Okay, now I'm going to create a keyboard shortcut for both of these. So I'm going to go Tools, Customize. Now we're going to see the power of character styles coming right up. It's about to happen. All I have to do is choose a keyboard shortcut that's not already in major use. Control F10 I do not want to change. I use that one a lot. Field shadings I don't really care about. Thesaurus not really. This is Control. Here I'll do Control F8 and Control F9. They're the ones I'm going to use. Okay. So then I'm going to go down to the bottom. Scroll, 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 and find my styles. Now normally I'm working with paragraph styles, but right now I want to do character styles, and I'm like, okay, for Control F8 I want to replace it with big num, and I'm so tempted to come down here and hit OK, as I've done so many times in the past. But I've learned from experience that I got to remember not to hit OK, and instead I need to go up here. Oh, it's not going to let me modify that one. There we go. Okay, so I've got my replacement selected and I've got my destination selected. I do not hit OK. I do not come down here and hit OK. Nope, I go up here and I hit modify, and then you can see it changed right there. The next one I'm going to change is Control F9, but I have to hit modify before I hit OK. Then I can hit OK. Control F8. Yo! There we go. Control F9. 1, 2, 3. Control F9. But you know, this is going to get annoying pressing over every time. So I have a faster way to do this. It'll seem like it's going to take a long time because I have to set it up first. But then once I get it set up, it's going to go and select 3 spaces, and then it's going to apply the style all at once. So I'm not going to have to go select, 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 or be real careful with my mouse selecting it. I'm just going to have a keyboard shortcut to make it easy. Now I think I've already done this before, so I might have one. No, I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Just imagine I don't have one set up like this. So I'm going to record a macro that's going to make it even faster for me to apply this formatting. So I go Tools, Macros, Record Macro. All right, the macro is recording. So now whatever I do, it's just going to follow my orders. Oh, crud. But yeah, starting right there. Okay, I'm going to hold down Shift, arrow, arrow, arrow. And then I'm going to apply medium num style. Okay, that's all I want to do. And then stop recording. Now I have to name this macro. And I have to choose a module to place it in. It doesn't matter what module you place it in. You want to put it within My Macros in the standard folder, but you can create new modules or just use your existing module 1. I'll just use module 1 for now. But then the name of the macro is going to be selected, bolded. Select it, bold it. There we go. Make it a verb. Select it and bold it. So then we say save. Now we could go in and inspect the macro first, or we can test the macro first, or we can apply a keyboard shortcut first. Let's test it first. We'll go to Tools, Macros, Run Macro. Go into My Macros, Standard, Module 1, go and find it. Select it, bold it. Wait, I gotta have it in the right spot. Okay, it's gotta be in front of there. That's the right spot for it. I'm gonna try it again. Tools, Macros, Run Macro. Okay, let's see if it works. Standard, Module 1. Select it, bold it. Okay, here we go. Let's watch and see if it works. Run. See, it worked. Good. So sometimes you get lucky. It works on the first try. Sometimes you don't. Now I'm going to apply a keyboard shortcut. Tools, Customize. F12 appears to be available. Medium number. Sick. No, that's not what I wanted. No, try again. Customize. I don't know if I even hit. I might have forgot to hit modify even that time. But I chose the wrong one anyway. F12. We don't want to do styles. We want to do a macro. My Macros. So we come down here to LibreOffice Macros, My Macros, Standard, Module 1, select it, bold it. Now I don't hit OK. No, no, no. Got to hit Modify. Then I can say we're OK. Now I just position my mouse in front of the letter and hit F12. And look at that. Now this one is not going to work because it's got 4 characters. So on this one, I'm just going to do it this way. But most of these I can now, watch me soar. Oh, I need to do it the other way. Instead of selecting the text backwards, I need to select it from that way. So I'm going to change, I'm going to fix the macro. I want to put the cursor in front of the parentheses, not behind it. All right, so what I'll do, I'll go Tools, Macros, Edit Macro, Module 1, scroll down to the bottom, find my last macro that I just created. Here it is, select and bold it. Select it, bold it. You do not have to understand most of this stuff. It is not necessary to understand it. All you need to do is see that the name you gave it is up at the top and that it does a bunch of stuff And then you want to see if you can figure out where to change it to make it work better. So what we can see is that it starts out doing some stuff, and then it says it's select is what it's doing, and it says uno go left. And it says uno go left, and then uno go left, and then it applies medium number style. So really all I have to do is change these to say go right. All right. So that should do it. I'd hit save here usually before I close. I'm not sure if that's necessary, probably not. Okay, so now I can put the cursor in front instead and it should work. See that? So now it's going to be even faster. And now let's observe the magic of character styles. Watch this document come to life. Oh, I see one there that I missed. Oh yeah, here we go. F12. F9. F12. F9. And F9. And F9. F12. And F9. Home. F12. F12. Home. F12. F9. Home. F12. Home. Oh, this one. Which keyboard shortcut did I have for this? Was it? Yeah, Control F9. So just when it has more than the normal number of characters, I'm actually going through and selecting them. See, so this one is like 15. So it needs me to actually select it. Ooh, 14 also. Look, see, I missed one. Oh, yeah, 12 and 13 I missed also. And probably 10 also. I got going too fast. I was getting too excited. There we go. Okay, back to business. Here we go. Yeah, like that. Like that. That. Boom. Shift home. Boom. Oops, wrong button. Shift home. This one. Ooh, look how there's a big space here. We can fix that. I'll show you how to fix this. So what I do is I bring up my styles. I'm going to look at the paragraph. This is going to be the paragraph style. Not, you would think it's the character style here. It's messing it up. It's actually the paragraph style. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our paragraph styles, and for chapter title style, we're going to modify it. And all we're going to do is we're going to affect the alignment, up and down alignment. The vertical alignment, text to text, is right here. Automatic, and I don't remember which one it is, but I just find them until I choose ones until it works. I think it's bottom is what we want here. Let's see. That's interesting. But why is the 4 up in the middle there? So that might be the character style now. I don't know. What if I do it like this? This is a weird way to try to work it, but nah, that didn't work too good. What if we make it Arial instead of Arial black? That's a little better. Which is better, like that? Yeah, I think I like it like this. I don't know. We can also work with this paragraph style and try some different settings. What about instead of bottom, we do baseline? What about that? That's closer to what we want, but it's just not right. I'm going to leave it like that for right now. What's this one? Control F8. Skirt. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. eagleDog, how do you format stuff so quickly? I'll tell you how with keyboard shortcuts. Oh, that's funny. I've got a song stuck in my head right now. Can you guess what song I have stuck in my head right now? It's the song I've been practicing for the last couple of days. Kaysville police stole my car. Kaysville police stole my car. Kaysville police stole my car. What is it? Control F8. Yeah. How much do we have left? Oh, quite a bit still. What I'm going to do is I'll go at the end of this stream, or after I talk about stuff, I'll go through and keep formatting this. But for right now, I just want to keep walking through the process. So you've seen the process that I'm going through. You've seen how I've set up these keyboard shortcuts. You see how I'm formatting these different titles, these different numbers. And I'm just simplifying at every step of the way. Shift home, delete, Control F8, Shift home, delete, Control F8, Shift home, delete, Shift arrow, Control F8, Shift home, delete, Shift arrow, arrow, Control F8. Kaysville police stole my car. Kaysville police stole my car. Well, this is nice because we have a section that has some indentations already set up. And so that way I can show you how it all comes together. So you've seen the process of setting up different keyboard shortcuts, setting up keyboard shortcuts specifically for these bigger and medium-sized numbers. I've set up a keyboard shortcut also using a macro to where it'll automatically delete these extra carriage returns for me. Although I got to be careful not to delete the good carriage returns like this one. That's one that's wanted. Alright, and then I had set these paragraph styles up previously, but then I did show, I already had the keyboard shortcuts for them too, but I did show a little bit of that. And I've showed that in other videos, and that's something for another day. But for the paragraph styles, I've got these indented styles. So I can do them like this, but I've also got keyboard shortcuts for that. So I don't need to go back over and keep double clicking off to the right. And so then we bring that together also with the character styles. And now look what happens. See, now that whole little section there, applicability of provisions, you can really see what the different paragraphs and subparagraphs are because the numbers are easy to identify. Look at reading this section 11 compared to section 8. See, section 8 does not have the improved formatting. So it's still very readable because of the clear heading, but it becomes much more readable when it has the indentations and the character styles. I'm going to do another one here. Is it section 12 I wanted? Section 16. Okay, this one belongs up here. There we go. F12. Also, I'm holding down Control and using the arrow key up and down, and it's jumping me right to the beginning of the next paragraph. So I can just hold down Control, arrow key down, F12. 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 Now here I've got one that has an extra character, so I'm going to go ahead and do that one manually, semi-manually. Same with this here. But then Control down, F12. 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 Oh, here's one that's got a unwanted carriage return. Do you guys use the end and home buttons? Those things help a lot. They make life go faster. Now we got indentations. Yo, this is even more indented. This is a next level. This is indent 4. I have to create a new style for this one. New style from selection. This one's going to be indent 4. This is a paragraph style. And all we're going to do for this style is we're going to move it in even a little further than that next style up above. Now to update this style, look, I'll show you. I'm going to apply the style here, but it doesn't seem to do anything. Okay, but now I'm going to take the modifications I made here and I'm going to update from this drop down up here where it says update selected style. And notice that the other paragraphs that had that style applied snapped into line as well. That looks good. There we go. Oh, I see what this was here too. This is not appropriately formatted. Just figured this one out. This is one of these. See, it's one. That's why it had the period at the end of the sentence there. Nice. Whew, almost had a mistake. I don't like mistakes. I try my best to avoid mistakes. Okay, so that gives you a good idea of the process that I'm going through here with this document. And just scrolling through it, I'll make it all bigger here, a little bit bigger. Okay, so just scrolling through this document, oh, here's one to fix. Watch how much, look at how much easier it is to identify this section just by doing this, watch. Okay, this is another one of those inappropriately formatted types of things. Okay, good. I don't know that we really need to show when these were all amended. I think that's something I usually take out. Could make it smaller. I'll deal with that later. So now what I'm doing is I'm showing the general structure of the document, and I'm going to start reading through it now as I continue doing some more formatting. But now it's going to be easier to read. We'll be able to make sense of the document and continue formatting. I'm going to check the chat. Let's see if we got any action here. Hello, Justin X. Flattened PDFs means the PDF document has been turned into an image in a way to deter people from accessing code or copying the information. Oh yeah, and I think they even have ways of doing that where they just scramble up all the numbers and all like the line breaks and stuff too. I've definitely seen PDFs that are more difficult to work with. Wizard, hey, thank you, Justin X. Thank you. Thank you, JX. I appreciate that. I do have a lot of experience documenting, or excuse me, formatting documents. I have a lot of experience with that. This comes from study and effort and attention and a real genuine, legitimate personal interest in publishing. Definitions. Okay, so short title, this chapter, this whole 76-16 is known as the Utah Public Officers and Employees Ethics Act. You know, one thing I do like to have for my styles is a character style that is just for the definitions. __ definitions. It's actually like the vocabulary words. Vocabulary. Okay. So for the vocabulary words, the only thing they're going to have different than anything else is they're just going to be bold. And I'm going to make a shortcut real fast. Tools, customize. Oh, I bet you were saying I was a wizard because of the macro. That might have been the macro that got Justin. I'm like, what could anybody be impressed by that I did recently? Oh yeah, setting up the macros. That's a good move. It's a good move to have handy when you need it. But this time all I need is the character styles, vocabulary, and then I got to find an available keyboard shortcut. F2, F4. I think I'm using those ones. F8. I can use F8. Here we go. Modify. Okay. Great. So now, yo, what happened? All right. Instead of using Control B to make it bold, instead I'm going to use this keyboard shortcut I just made and change its character style to vocabulary. Well, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just press Control B? Wouldn't that be easier? Yeah, it would be easier. It would be easier just to press Control B. But then if I want to go back later and change it, it makes it more difficult. So if I want to change all three of these vocabulary words here, I think I know what it is with my keyboard. I think it's just when I'm live streaming it gives me troubles. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we'll say with these three definitions that we can see here. So what if I want to change them and make them a little bit bigger? I can change them all at the same time. So if I want to take them up to 12 point instead, or maybe, I don't know, 15 point, just so you can see. Look, see how it changes them all at the same time? So that's the big benefit, is that I can go back and change them later. What did I say? F8. The definitions are usually just one small section of the chapter, if they have definitions at all. Some of them don't. F8. So there's usually not too many of these to go through and update, but it sure makes it nice when I'm going back and reading. Once I've printed these up and I'm studying the information prior to a court engagement, prior to a court hearing. Man, you could study and study and study, but once it actually comes time to appear in court, like, so much of that information just disappears. In the moment when it's most needed, when you're up there in front of the judge, man, it becomes difficult to remember all that stuff you were planning on talking about. So the easier and more bold and more visible everything is, the better. Let's see, how many more definitions, how many more vocabulary words do we have? Next time I'm going to plug in a keyboard. See if that improves my keyboard responsiveness. F8, F9. Is it Shift F4, Shift F3? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. This one I didn't set up a keyboard shortcut for yet. Dun, 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 dun. Wait a second. These are not properly. This one's not right. There we go. You see how I'm moving them all around just using keyboard shortcuts? You don't see me going over and double clicking on the paragraph styles. Here's one. Look, and I just use keyboard shortcuts. See, watch it go. Now we see the paragraph styles and the character styles coming together smooth and easy. Oh, and we've got a shortcut for this one as well. Oh, this song will be stuck in my head for years. Kaysville police stole my car. What the heck? Oh, I'm doing the wrong one, that's why. It's this one. There we go. I just don't want to miss any of these. I'm going to get the last couple of them before we move on. F8. F8. Okay. I got all or most of the vocabularies in bold now. When I print them, I also highlight those. I have like my own color for the vocabularies that's different from other highlighting colors or underlining colors. Okay, now I'm going to go through and read the document as it is up to this point, and we'll see how much sense we can make of it now. Short title, this is called the Utah Public Officers and Employees Ethics Act. An agency means a department, division, etc. Agency head means the chief executive or such and such. Assist means to act, offer, to agree to act. Business entity, compensation, controlled, private, or protected information, filing clerk, governing body, governmental action, improper disclosure, legislative employee. Oops, what do we got here? Made a mess of this one. This one's wrong. This one's got the wrong style. This one's got to go like that. And then this one, I used the wrong keyboard shortcut on this one. This should be default character style. Oh, got another one here. Oh, and I missed one. All right, public employee means a person who is not a public officer, who is employed on a full-time, part-time, or contract basis. Public employee does not include legislators or legislative employees. That's interesting. But public officer means an elected or appointed official. So I think the legislators are public officers. Public officer includes a special public officer. Public officer does not include legislator. Oh, does not include legislators or legislative employees. Interesting. Special public officer, state, substantial interest. Improper. So then we get to section 4, improperly disclosing or using private, controlled, or protected information, using position to secure privileges or exemptions, and accepting employment that would impair independence of judgment or ethical performance. It is an offense for a public officer, public employee, or legislator. So the legislators are actually referred to as legislators. To accept employment or engage in any business or professional activity that he might reasonably expect would require or induce him to improperly disclose controlled information. Bunch of stuff, bunch of specifics. They're not allowed to coerce another person to secure special privileges or exemptions, secure privileges or exemptions, etc., etc. And once we get the indentations and the numbers popping out, this will be even easier to make sense of. Section 5, accepting gift, compensation, or loan when prohibited. Lots of information there. Oh, I missed one. Look at this. What was it? F2. Yeah. Which one was this one? What was it? Shift F9. There we go. Control F8. Requiring donation, payment, or service to government agency in exchange for approval. When prohibited, I would think always. I would assume that requiring a donation in exchange for approval, I would think that would always be illegal. Subsection 1 does not apply to any donation of property, funds, or services to an agency that is expressly required by statute, ordinance, or agency rule, mutually agreed to between the applicant and the entity issuing the permit, approval, or other authorization, made voluntarily by the applicant, or a condition of a consent decree, settlement agreement, or other binding instrument entered into to resolve in whole or in part an actual or threatened agency enforcement action, and etc., etc., etc. It goes on. Oh, missed another one here. So section 5 has multiple subsections. We got 5.3, 5.6, 5.6, offering donation, payment, or service to government agency in exchange for approval when prohibited. I would think always, but apparently not. Subsection 1 does not apply to any donation of property, funds, or services to an agency that is otherwise expressly required by statute, ordinance, or agency rule. 2. Mutually agreed to between the applicant and the entity issuing the permit, condition of a consent decree, or made without condition. So if they just do it, then it's okay. Receiving compensation for assistance in transaction involving an agency sworn statement. So in this case, and I've read this one already, it's an offense to receive or agree to receive compensation for assisting any person or business entity in any transaction involving an agency unless the public officer or public employee files a sworn written statement disclosing the information. So they're not allowed to receive or agree to receive compensation unless they make a sworn statement about it. So actually they are allowed to receive compensation for assistance in a transaction involving an agency, as long as they make a sworn statement. And I'm willing to bet that if they accidentally forget to make the sworn statement, that they don't really consider that to be such a huge big deal. It's not like something that really gets enforced a whole lot. And then the sworn statement has to contain all this stuff, all this information. The sworn statement described in subsection 1 is public information and shall be available for examination by the public. But this does not apply if they are chargeable for the same conduct under this section or that section. So those are sections that I'm going to have to go and research and see what the difference is. Disclosure of substantial interest in regulated business exceptions. I'll go ahead while I'm reading this and apply some of these formatting improvements as we go. Except as provided in subsection 5, a public officer or public employee who is an officer, director, agent, employee, or owner of a substantial interest in a business entity that is subject to the regulation of the agency by which the public officer or public employee is employed shall disclose a position held in the entity and precise nature and value of the public officer's or public employee's interest in the entity. ABC. Boom. Boom. Skirt, skirt, skirt. There's another one right there. Yeah, it's a little bit slow actually. I think I'll just keep reading. I can do all this on my own. I wanted to show the process to y'all. I think you got the process, so I'm just going to keep reading. So they have to disclose if they have substantial interest in certain businesses, which should be any business that the state is involved in contracts with. If they receive compensation for assistance in a transaction, then they have to make a sworn statement, and that sworn statement has to be publicly available. Okay, but where are those sworn statements? What sworn statements have been made? Has Governor Cox submitted a sworn statement demonstrating his level of involvement and compensation with the data center? Has Jason Lee, is that his name? The guy who just got unelected? Has he disclosed all this stuff? And if so, where do we find it? This is our job as citizen journalists, to dig around and do our grandma requests, do our FOIA requests, get our hands on this information. Slowly and steadily, not in a rush, not in one furtive explosion of effort, but rather with persistence, with steady, continuous effort. So they're supposed to disclose all this information, and they're supposed to disclose if they receive compensation, participation in transaction involving business as to which public officer or employee has interest. Exceptions. So these are the exceptions when, you don't have to worry so much about it. Conflicts of interest are prohibited. No public officer or public employee shall have personal investments in any business entity which will create a substantial conflict of interest between the public officers or public employees' private interests and the public officers or public employees' public duties. Inducing others to violate chapter. You're not allowed to induce other people to break these rules. Applicability of provisions. Oh, here we got some more vocabularies. What was it? Control F8? No. No. F8, there it is. Government position means the position of a legislator, public officer, or public employee. Okay, so government position means all of the above. So they could have told us that a lot earlier, but at least they're telling us now. The provisions of this chapter apply to all public officers and public employees and do not apply to a conflict of interest that exists between two or more government positions held by the same individual unless the conflict of interest is also due to a personal interest of the individual that is not shared by the general public. I don't know why they went ahead and specified to us what government position means and then just told us nothing relating to the word government position, but instead said public officers and public employees. I think it should say apply to all government positions, but that's unusual that they would define that and not use it. Penalties for violation, removal from office or dismissal from employment. In addition to any penalty contained in any other provision of law, any public officer or public employee who knowingly and intentionally violates this chapter, with the exception of these specific sections, shall be dismissed from employment. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make these section references, I'm going to make them look like vocabularies, because it's helpful to be able to spot those when I'm reading. F8. Maybe not the word sections, though. Yeah, that should be enough. With the exceptions of these particular, so I'm going to have to look those up later, because I can't do everything all at once. But I can give these the vocabulary's character format so that they stand out a little bit. And that makes them easy to go back later and change if I want. as a felony of the second degree if the total value of the compensation, conflict of interest, or assistance exceeds $1,000. As a felony of the third degree if the total value of the compensation, conflict of interest, or assistance is more than $250 but not more than $1,000. Or, what is this one? Can't remember. There we go. Or the public officer or public employee has been twice before convicted of violation of this chapter and the value of the conflict of interest, compensation, or assistance was $250 or less. So if they've already twice been convicted of unethical conflict of interest, receiving money for approving projects without publicly disclosing those, if they've twice already been convicted for this, and the value of the, now on their third time, the value of the assistance was less than $250, then it's still going to be a felony of the third degree. Or as a Class A misdemeanor or as a Class B misdemeanor, depending on the value of the assistance. And we don't see anything there about dismissal from office, interestingly enough. Even though it mentions it in the title, they just don't worry about actually saying anything about dismissing people from office here in the actual body of the section. So they kind of like forgot to include anything about that people should be removed from office after violating these rules. If any, so now they get to these other sections that they were referencing that are not necessarily included. What was this one? Is it? Yeah, F8. There we go. It's just straight up F8. Oh, but this is the one I don't remember. Yeah, I do. F12. There we go. Notice how these numbers are a little bit bigger. These like paragraph numbers. I formatted them to be larger than the surrounding text. Whereas the vocabularies are just the same size. They're just bold. The state political subdivision or agency involved shall dismiss the public officer or public employee who knowingly and intentionally violates this chapter from employment and office as provided by law. Now they're getting into dismissing the officers. 14, duty to dismiss officer or employee. And may rescind or void any contract or subcontract it entered into in respect to such transaction without returning any part of the consideration that the state political subdivision or agency is received. So they may rescind or void a fraudulent contract without returning any of the consideration received by the state. Complaint, political subdivisions, ethics review commission. A person may file a complaint for an alleged violation of this chapter by a political subdivision officer or employee in accordance with Title 63A, Chapter 15, Political Subdivisions Ethics Review Commission. So this is the actual meat that we've been searching for. Now we found it. That's going to tell us how to actually submit complaints about Governor Cox receiving money from Kevin O'Leary and not declaring it and not making it publicly available. That's the section that actually tells us how to file the complaints about all the rules that we've been reading in this section. Special public officer, annual conflict of interest. Looks like I got a chat here. I'm going to see what the chat's saying. Let's see here. Hey, everybody. And the moose says, yo. Hello, Hajaspear. Hello. Yo, yo, yo. Will you be posting the finished work to an online repository? Nailhead, absolutely. And I want to do that sooner than later. I meant to have already done that. I'm going to put these up as Word .docx documents. I'll make them LibreOffice documents. I'll make them PDFs. I'll make them all kinds of. Pretty late over here, but I guess I stick around for an hour. Quickly, don't drink coffee if it's getting late. If you're gonna go to bed, no, stick around and don't drink coffee, and then just get tired, and then just turn everything off and go to sleep. Some people can drink coffee at night. Some people, if I drink coffee anytime in the like afternoon or evening or whenever it's like getting late for me, it messes up my sleep schedule. Hey, glad to have you here, Jasper. Nailhead, I will definitely be providing all of this stuff and everything that I've been making, everything I've been sharing. And reading your comment gives me inspiration to do it sooner rather than later. I do have a couple of things that I have to get accomplished. This one today was not actually super urgent, but I stumbled across it and I did not want to lose it and forget it, so I just went ahead and worked on it. And it gave me a chance to point out how to make magical use of character styles. It was set up, it was just asking. It was asking to be formatted with character styles. Except as provided in subsection 7, a special public officer shall no sooner than such and such dates of each year in January have to prepare written conflict of interest statements and submit that information to the clerk, and they have so many days to do it, and the clerk has to do this and that, and the clerk has to do that and that. If a circumstance described in subsection 3 occurs, then the filing clerk has to do this and this within 5 days. And it is unlawful for them to do this and that, and the filing clerk has to do this and that. Ooh, here's some other special, powerful, useful information. This one. Right there. So there's another thing to look up. Title 20A, Chapter 11, Part 16, Conflict of Interest Disclosures for a state legislator, or an elected officer of a county has to do it under this stuff right here. So these are all sections of code that were hidden to the view of the layman, even to the view of the average attorney, buried in the fine print. And through the use of nothing more than diligence, nothing more than perseverance, just keeping at it little by little by little, we have identified all of this critical, relevant data. The more I know, the less I know. The more I learn, the less I know. Now I learned that I don't know this one or this one or this one. And so I'm going to go and cross-reference those and read up on those some other time. But most of what we've been reading here today applies to the state and county officials and their unethical behaviors that have not been being checked on. And so this might apply more to the data center than to the police corruption that we've been seeing in American Fork and that I've been personally observing here in Davis County. But they're related. What I'm seeing more and more, especially since I went to court a couple days ago, is that the judiciary is hand in glove with the law enforcement, and the prosecution is they're all three of the, I'd say all four. You got the prosecution, you got the law enforcement, you got the prosecution, you got the judiciary, and you got the medical profession, the healthcare, all of the healthcare industry. You got law enforcement, you got the judiciary, you got the prosecutor, you got the healthcare industry, and you got the elected officials. That is America's governmental class. That is America's public service class. America's public service class is doing everything it can to get all the power for itself and to bully and strong arm everybody with aggressive legislative tactics. I just realized I got no light on me. And now you can probably see me better. They are strong arming the opposition. They are strong arming the average citizen. I'm going to turn on another light. I got all the lights off in here. I think it was still daylight when I started. Or I just didn't notice. Hey, I was focused on editing documents. All right, I'm back. Let's see, Nailhead says... Let's see, he GTSY, Matthew and Nailhead. Hey, thanks to Jasper. We'll love seeing you and look forward to seeing you again. Nailhead says, great, you're an inspiration to follow in other states. Yes, that's exactly the idea. That is exactly the idea. This thing in American Fork and Nailhead, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here. I don't need to tell you this, but there's Lackluster, there's John Lang, there's the Random Patriot, there's Audit the Audit, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And this is not just happening to Reckless Ben, it's happening to people all across the country. Ben just happened to bring some attention to this issue. This is, every state needs this, every county. And Nailhead, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll be talking about in the upcoming months. Not anytime soon, but I've been covering the election results that came in with this recent Republican primary in Utah. That's another model to emulate. It's not just a state-by-state issue, it's a county-by-county issue. Some counties are reliably red, some counties are reliably blue, some counties are mixed, some counties are purple. People who live in a purple county, well, they should just go with the team they like. If they're a Republican, they should go with the Republicans. If they're a Democrat, they should go with the Democrats. But for the rest of us who live either in a totally blue county or a totally red county, our goal should not just be to support the Democrats or to support the Republicans. Our goal should be to find out who are the people, who are the incumbents who have been in power for a long time. Who are the individuals who refuse to hold law enforcement accountable? Get them out. Which judges are refusing to hold law enforcement accountable? Get them out. 2026 was a midterm election. 2027 is an inter-midterm election. That's the secret election that nobody knows about. When all the little secret leaders all around the city halls and the counties and everything around the country, every little state, every little city, every little place, they have their little secret election so the judges can get themselves reelected and the other leaders can get themselves reelected without anybody even showing up to the polls, without anybody even knowing about it. It's not the main November election. It's not the main midterm election. It's the August Republican primary in an inter-midterm election in 2027. How many people are voting in that election? Almost none. That's where our attention needs to be as a country, is on those 2007 primaries. That's where it needs to be. That's my view. This issue galvanized the middle. Yeah. Everyone from center right to center left. Yes. Yes. That's why I love it when Nailhead pops up into the chat. Makes these poignant statements. These poignant, accurate statements. I have just gone through and done a brief reading of this particular statute, Title 67, Chapter 16, the Utah Public Officers and Employees Ethics Act. My next step with this document, besides going through and just finishing up all the indenting and the little character formatting and everything, then my next step will be to expand this document so it'll have not only this statute, but I will include additionally, let's see, now we're up to 7 pages we have here. Well, then for page 8, I will go in and include these other sections of code, which are referenced here. I'll go and dig those up and find those and include either these sections or just portions of these sections or portions of these chapters down below so that we'll get a bigger, broader context. This will be a document focusing on governmental corruption, governmental accountability. There's another group of documents which I've already started work on, but I haven't looked at it in a while, for the Utah GRAMA statutes, which are basically FOIA statutes. And all different types of documents like this. Having received a comment today about making these documents publicly available, I will definitely make that a bigger priority. I will also be setting up a Discord server and finding different places where people can come together and share documents, share information. Just say like, hey, I found this statute in the state of Texas that is very significant, or I found this Supreme Court ruling that seems important. Any internet detective work and so forth. This is pretty much the end of the live stream. If there's anyone in chat who wants to say hello or has any comments before we go, now's a good time to jump in. And oh, we got something here. Eagle. What's that? A Pegasus? A griffin? Donkey. Oh, it's a dog. Hey, all right, eagleDog. Eagle with your host, eagleDog. All right. Naturally triggered avalanche. A naturally triggered avalanche. Beautiful. Beautiful. Heal quickly. Thank you. Thank you. Today I actually ate pizza. So my stomach has been in a state of difficulties. And today was the first time that I had that kind of appetite to actually eat pizza. So today I'm actually, it's like my first day of starting to feel significantly better in terms of my gastrointestinal system. Yeah, I feel like this is a naturally triggered avalanche. Very well said. The rise of the center. And it appears to have started before Reckless Ben actually showed up and made his video. Obviously, the auditors and First Amendment auditors and John Lang and Lackluster and these guys, they've been doing their stuff for a while. Civil rights lawyer has been going for several years, probably like 4 or 5 years at least, somewhere around there. So there's been some information, some attention that's been gathering out there. And then this Reckless Ben situation really brought, even just galvanized things more. But I'm just thrilled with this 2026 midterm election that just happened. 2020 exposed a lot. Yeah, all 2020 to 2024, I think for a lot of us made us say, hey, the Democratic Party doesn't really know what it's doing. Like, at least they're not doing some of this evil stuff, these specific types of evil things. But there's a lot of ineptitude, lack of diligence, incompetence, not ineptitude, incompetence. Not quite as bad as ineptitude, but incompetence is still a problem. All kinds of things have changed. I think since 2024, the police state has gotten more aggressive. I think law enforcement has felt emboldened during the second Trump administration. But that's all big global, or I guess national politics stuff. And my focus right now is really on county, city, state. Caroline Gleich said, vote from the bottom up. I like that idea. All right, I'm going to review this document real quick and see if there's anything else that jumps out that needs attention before we finish up here. Obviously, I save as I go, and I always save before I finish up and quit, but right now I'm just going to look it over, see if there's any glaring, massive problems. I will say I really like these large numbers. They make it so much easier to find where I'm going, and getting the indenting and the character formatting on these paragraph numbers will be very helpful too. You can see on the ones that are formatted how much easier they are to read. I'll just do that in my spare time. You guys don't need to watch me do that. You're welcome to. You're welcome to. But you know what? That's what I'll do. I'll just hang out for a little bit. If you guys want to stick around, you're welcome to. I'm just going to quietly sit here and do some more formatting for another probably like 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'll check the chat again, and then I'm going to finish up for the night. So this is our first preliminary good night, and I will wrap up more completely in about 10, 15 minutes. You could put the numbers in a colored box like purple or gold. Ooh. Yeah. Just want to see, just since the comment has been made, I'll just show you guys how I would do that. The box might be tough because normally to draw a box, you have to draw a box around the whole paragraph. But there's a lot of ways to draw a box. I don't know for character formatting if I have a way to do that, but I'm going to have to think about that a little bit. Let's see here. I could definitely make them colored. That would be easy. Now, one problem if I make them colored is that then when I print it, they're harder to read because they're not as dark. If I actually make the text colored. So I don't particularly want the text to be colored. But like having a colored box around it, I could highlight the text. Could do it like oh, that's pretty good. Okay, so let's see if all of these just update. I'll show you guys how to modify the character style once again. It's really good to just review. So I show it once, I show it twice, I show it 6 times, I show it 8 times. If we want to go in and modify the style here in the dialog box, we can do it that way. But where I've already updated the style here physically, manually, then I can just come up instead to the drop down and say update selected style. And it worked. See that? Now they're all got a box around them. And then when it prints, that little highlighted area will be almost invisible because it's so light. It won't get in the way. If it does get in the way, it doesn't matter. I'll print it out and try it out anyways and see how I like it. And if it does get in the way, it won't get in the way very much. If I like it, I'll keep using it. If I don't like it, I will discontinue it. But yeah, so now any of these that I give that same character style to, they will also receive that highlighting. Now I'm sure there's other ways to draw a colorful box around these character styles, but that's the way that I came up with just kind of on the fly just now. If we want it to stand out a little bit more, we could have a space in front and afterwards, so the box would kind of seem bigger. But then I would have to go through and put spaces around everything. But I could keep going through and thinking of all different types of ways to to give some color coding. But this is probably one of many possible solutions. That is a really nice capstone for this live stream, because Nailhead, you brought in that idea, and I got to show just really quickly as a good summary how fast I'm able to update all these different formatting areas in the document by using character styles. And the same thing generally applies to paragraph styles as well. So I don't have to go back through and reformat the whole document. I just do it in a couple of clicks. Let's see here. Purple or gold? Yep. Let's see. Purple would have to have a white number. Gold could keep it black. Yeah, I went with gold here. Bleed issues with any light with dark or dark. I mean, light with light or dark with dark. It has to have. It's got to have contrast. Yeah, lavender, white, purple. Lavender is a good light purple color. Oh, the big numbers. Hey, Nailhead, cool. This is it. These are the tutorials. I've got a couple of others that I've already done on live streams. But this is kind of like my main way of live streaming, is through just formatting documents. So if you miss a live stream, or you miss a bunch of live streams and catch up with me months later, it's likely that I will still be covering similar types of topics. So this is one of my main favorite things to do. Okay, so for these numbers, so then for this one, we'll just do the same kind of thing. We'll pick a highlight color. Or should I try to find a different way to do it? Let's see. I mean, another thing I could do, we could go black. Oh, and it automatically makes the text white, even though I did not change the text. That's interesting. So what if we update? Okay, so here's one way to do it. In that case, we almost would want the extra spaces around it. Generally with publishing, I think in terms of black and white as my first default, because a lot of the times, most of the times when I'm printing documents, I'm printing them on a black and white printer. And even if I have a color printer, I don't usually want to use up the colored cartridges, unless it's for like a small amount of yellow, like with these little numbers here. But I can always change these to a different color. Just doing it like this. This makes them stand out a lot. Boom. Hey, I like that idea. Cool. We'll leave it like that for now. Fast, yeah. Could make home emergency plans that way. Yeah, all these different types of formatting tricks that I'm showing, they're universal. They're just so helpful for all kinds of things. It becomes more professional, thank you, and I'll tell you why. It's not because it looks professional. It does look professional, but it's not because of some sort of aesthetic reason. The reason is because of the functionality. So, and I'll just remove these yellow ones temporarily. I can always put them back easily. No fill. Update selected style. I think it was easier. I think it's easier with the yellow actually. No. Do it this way. I think it's easier to read with the colors. Once you're used to it, it's like it's like you don't want to get rid of it. So, but the reason why it looks more professional is not because of the aesthetic beauty. The reason it looks more professional is because it is easier to read, it is easier to understand, it is easier to digest the information. The information is better organized, it is more presentable, it is more consolidated, it's more concise, it's less spread out, it's much more structured. And for example, these sections had these big long numbers here. It was like 67 dash, what is it, like 16 or something, dash 4. And it was saying like section or title or something over here too. It had a whole bunch of unnecessary, distracting words and numbers. So all these different efforts, and it takes a lot of time going through and applying all those different levels of indent. It still takes time. But you can see how quick I've gotten at it after having a lot of experience. And making these keyboard shortcuts is very helpful also. What is the, let's see, I can't read. Our brains have evolved to scan for the most essential information. I knew it, Nailhead. You and I have been reading and researching and watching the same kind of information. Like the the stripes of the tiger in the bushes. Just we scan and we notice things. Yeah, there's so much research on that. You're referencing a whole body of knowledge there. So here's what I've found for fonts, and I recommend choosing your own method and choosing the fonts that you like. But I'll tell you how I do for fonts. The way I start out is just Arial. It sounds like, oh, not Arial, but yeah, it turns out that Arial is actually one of the easiest fonts to read, and that's the reason why it's so common. It's very easy to read. There's some fonts that look a little bit nicer and fancier. Like there's one called Calibri, for example. So watch, I'll change these to Calibri. They'll look a little bit fancier, but they'll be not as easy to read. See, so it looks kind of more like modern, but it does not look easier to read. This is just like really easy to read. But Calibri is definitely a good option because it's also easy to read. See, that's easy to read also. My other font that I usually default to is just Times New Roman. Yeah, there it is, Times New Roman. Which is, again, just an easy to read classic font, but this one has the serifs. It's not as easy to read as Arial, but in some circumstances, for some reason, it's easier to read. Certain types of documents where my eyes are used to seeing that document in Times New Roman or in a serif font, then if I suddenly see that same kind of information in a sans serif font, it might throw me off at first. Oh, like scripture, like anything from the Bible, if I see it in Arial or any kind of sans serif, non-serif font, it just messes with me. I think I will be formatting the Bible in Arial coming soon, or the portions of the New Testament, but I'm not sure. How about Tahoma? Let's see what Tahoma looks like. And Verdana, I think, is a good one. Oh yeah, Tahoma. Look, that's almost the same as Arial. That might even be easier to read than Arial. I'm going to try making everything Tahoma. I'm going to modify the default paragraph style, and theoretically everything should inherit from this, but not all of it will. Tahoma, there we go. Looks like it did. It updated everything. Okay, so I'll point this out too as far as tutorials go. The reason why they all updated is because I was really specific about the way I created the new styles whenever I was creating them. And the way I did that is I went and found a section that had no indent and no anything, that just said default paragraph style. And I always made sure I had them set as default paragraph style before I went and created another paragraph style. And so because of that, the cascading works where it automatically updates them. But a lot of times that doesn't work. But I think it just because I kind of stuck to my structure of how I do things. By following a process. Yeah, that one's really nice. Tahoma's really nice. I don't know which one is easier to read. Tahoma or Arial. I'm going to try to switch it back and see which one I like better. Those are pretty similar. Yeah, I always like a little bit of wider spacing, but then I run out of space and then I want to make everything smaller. So I'm always like blowing things up and shrinking things down and blowing things up and shrinking things down. I want to make them as easy to read and fit as much information as possible on the page. That's when I start shrinking the fonts down and going to 4 columns instead of 3 columns. Once I'm up to like 30, 40 pages for one document, I'm like, nah, I gotta crunch this thing down. The chapter title yourself or a format option? Okay. So great question. So Nailhead asks, so do you enter the chapter title yourself or is that a format option? So there's 2 different ways to do that. And also, if you go back and kind of, after you're done, you can go back through this live stream and you'll see some of the stuff from earlier. But so like these chapter titles right here, which are actually section titles, but I just called it, I started up here, anyway, I called it chapter title, but technically it's a section. Well, this is technically a section number, but then this is the chapter title. Here, I'll show you, you know what, Nailhead, I recommend, since I already did that earlier in the stream, just after you're done here, just go back and just poke around and you'll find it. I think it'll literally be easier to just see it that way than to have me go through and do it again. Or I'll just start a fresh document. Here, I'll just start a fresh document and show you real quick. This will be easiest of all. So let's say I went to the PDF text, copied it all. I want to paste unformatted. Unformatted. That's always, if you don't know how like a keyboard shortcut or anything, you go to edit, paste, and you find paste special, paste unformatted. So it does not have any of the formatting. If you include the formatting, it ends up taking longer in the long run, unless it's a real short little thing that you're working with. Okay, so here I'll just show you how to format some titles real quick. There's 2 ways to do this. One is to create your own name for the style. The other way is to use the built-in headings. I'll tell you the benefits of both ways. The benefits of using your own name for the style is that you can give it your own name and you're in control of the name. So let's say this paragraph right here, and remember the paragraph is going to format the entire line. It's going to format the entire paragraph. So I go to, and I don't even have to have anything selected, just as long as my cursor is anywhere within that paragraph, it's going to format that whole entire paragraph. I'll go to paragraph styles. Yeah, exactly. Your own info is easier to recognize. Exactly. So I'm going to show it both ways though. So I start out, I make sure it's on the default paragraph style. I don't want it to be any of these other ones. I just want it to be default. And then I say new style from selection. If you're in Word, the process is similar. It's a little bit like the stuff is in different places, but it's essentially the same thing. It takes, you know, an hour to get used to switching over from Word to LibreOffice and back and forth. I always give them a name of A __ and then whatever name I want to give it. Like this one is actually a section title, so I'll call it section title. Now it did not change any of the formatting yet. All I did is create the new style. So I can either update the style by going in here and making changes. Let me apply the style here so you can see that they're okay. So this has the same style applied. Now watch. But it has the same style section title, but I did not change the font size yet. I only changed the, I'm going to show you in a different way. Okay, watch. Okay, so both of these have the section title paragraph style. So now I'm going to change this one to be a bigger font. But now I want both of them to have that size. So now I go up here and I just say update selected style. So it's going to update that style to match whatever formatting changes I made. Like let's say this one, I ended up finding a style that I really liked that has like a certain color and maybe it's bold and it has like a certain font, whatever font I chose. Let's say I liked that one a lot. So now I want to update this style just to match this formatting. So I'll say update selected style to match selection. In Word it says update style to match selection. So the other way to update the style is to right click on the title of the style and choose modify. So then we'll get this box that we can go through with all these different settings. And then we have to go through and find but we can change any of these settings and it's all going to carry over through that whole style now. So maybe I'll make my change in here. Maybe I wanted it bold italic and I wanted it this size and I wanted it like that. See, now it's updating all of them that are like that. So that's just getting your title, your section title started. That's the paragraph style. That affects the entire paragraph, so the entire line. Where's the next one? 18, here we go. That's going to affect the entire line. So drop shadows and stuff. Yeah, well, there's actually, yeah, lastly, assign a shortcut and we're golden, yeah. Keep it at the top makes it easier to find, and that's why I name them on my own. Yeah, and then add a keyboard shortcut, but then there's like so many different layers of things we can do as well. So the drop shadows, actual drop shadows, there's two types of formatting. There's paragraph formatting and character formatting. So if I select whatever area that I want to do stuff to, let's say I'm going through and adjusting the formatting. Well, if I make adjustments up here in the ribbon, it might be adjusting one, it might be adjusting the other, but I can get real specific and pay attention. Am I adjusting the paragraph style or the character style? So I go to format, and you see there's one to format character and there's another one to format paragraph. And by the way, if you're on Microsoft Word, you just look and it's the little tiny box. Like if you're up in the ribbon, there'll be like a little teeny tiny box down at the bottom right, and you click on that, and one of them is for paragraph styles over here, and then you come over here, there's another little tiny box, and it's a pop-out box for character styles. But either way, there's two different things to format. So there's two different sets of options. And you can tell which set of options you're looking at by if at the top of the box, if it says character or paragraph. See how it says character up there, or it might say paragraph. And on Word, even though you've got all the ribbon and everything, once you get into actually adjusting the settings, it looks almost just like this. Like Word has not really changed this part of it very much. So the font effects for character effects, this is where you find overlining, strike through, underlining, case, relief. There they are, outline and shadow. So there's your shadow and your outline and stuff. Hidden text. So that's not actually in the paragraph formatting. That's actually in the character formatting. And usually you don't want to do this except for on some kind of big title. Like if there's a big title or something. Or if you're trying to do some fancy text for a flyer. So But either way, if you're looking to make fancy formatting changes, you just want to check both of those, the paragraph formatting and the character formatting, because now I'm in the paragraph formatting. So we'll see if I can find something similar in the paragraph formatting. Normally we would see at least font. Hang on, there's a problem here. Oh, yeah, so we see different options if we just select the text and choose format paragraph or format character, whereas we see even more options if we come over here and make our adjustments over here. Let's just say I'm going to give this paragraph a new style name. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to create a new style from selection. So we call it A underscore underscore, maybe like test paragraph. So then I could go in and make changes to this paragraph and then update the paragraph style, or I can just right click on the paragraph style and modify. And now I come in and look at all these different formatting options I have for this paragraph style. Now it gives me font as well and font effects. So yes, I can do it in paragraph styles, but only by actually formatting the paragraph style. If I've just selected text and gone up into the ribbon or my commands, and if I then just choose format paragraph, you'll see it does not have as many tabs available up at the top. It does not have some of those font options and font effect options. At any rate, any kind of formatting you want to do, the best way to do it is get into those different this is called a dialog box, and go around and just click on all these different tabs and just go around and explore and explore and explore with the tabs. One I do use fairly regularly is borders. Borders is tricky to get a hang of, but it's very useful. You can adjust the border size. You can adjust the border locations. This is a way to put boxes around things, but it's on a paragraph or line by line level only. It's not going to make a box around just one word unless that word is the whole paragraph. So I have not found a way to draw a box like this around an individual word. I've only found ways to do this with regard to an entire paragraph at a time. But there's all kinds of formatting options in there. Probably the most important one to remember is actually the spacing above and below the paragraph. It seems not really like something that's so important, but it actually makes a huge difference. So I'll give an example down here. So let's say A, B, and C, all of these, I'm going to format them like the test paragraph as well. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click and modify, and I'm going to go in and find the indents and spacing. Tabs, no, that's not it. Alignment, and you just have to keep, the trick in life is to just keep practicing clicking on all these different little tabs until you get used to them and learn which ones are which and learn which ones you're going to use the most often. Turns out indents and spacing is one of the most common ones you'll use, and then font is another one of the most common ones you'll use. Just change this to a different font while I'm at it, just to make it stand out a little bit. Okay, but so then what I want to do right now is I want to adjust that indents and spacing, and I'll show you what a difference it makes. Indents and spacing. Normally you want to only adjust one or the other. Sometimes you'll do both above and below, but normally you just want to pick one and stick with it. For that like whole section, for like that whole page, you want to either do above or below, unless it's a big heading, in which case you might want above and below. For right now, I'm just going to choose just below. It doesn't really matter which one. I just have to choose one. I'll do 0.1 inches. No, that's not right. That's not right. Something's wrong there. No, that's not the way it's supposed to look. No, something's wrong. The line spacing is single. Why did it do it like that? It must be something with these borders. I'm going to turn off these borders. No. It's not behaving. I'll show you. I'll just do it again and show you on a different set of paragraphs. Because I don't know what happened with this, but here, okay, we'll pick this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we want one that has multiple lines in it, though. Here are these ones. 1, 2, 3. Okay. New style from selection. Let's call this one A underscore underscore test underscore 2. So I'm just going to do the same process, but all I'm doing is I just want to show you guys the significance of these indents and spacing. So I'm just going to say below paragraph, I'm going to give it like 0.1 here. What the heck? I give up. You know, what's supposed to happen is that it's not supposed to have this space right here. It's supposed to only have spaces between the paragraphs. Oh, I see why. Because it was the dang PDF. That's what was messing me up. It was the same thing up here too that I gave up on. Where was it? Same thing. It was these extra. I was wondering what was going on. I thought I was going nuts. See, this is one of the reasons why we get rid of these extra pilcrows. There we go. So, but what you see that happens with these paragraphs is it helps them to stand apart from each other. And it's not always necessary. I don't always put those spaces in, but I can tell you where I do almost always put those spaces in is with these whenever you get the headings, these big titles. So the other thing I did with regard to the titles on that other document is that I also created a separate character style for the number. So in addition to the paragraph style, then I also created a character style for the number. That's a separate type of style. It's a separate tab. New style from default. I'll call this one A underscore underscore big num. And then I'll right click, modify. And then this one is just going to have like a way bigger format. Oh, by the way, if you want really big, the biggest font that I've found so far is Arial Black. It's significantly bigger than just Arial. It's like just a fatter, heavier typeset. There's all kinds of stuff you can do if you're programming HTML or CSS in terms of adjusting the weight and strength of a letter or a character. I've found fewer fine-tuned options for adjusting the total dominance of a letter or a character within the word processing programs, but I'm always finding new ways of doing things, and there's almost always 10 different ways to get around the barn. All right, let's see if there's other comments here. I use the format brush to fix the paragraph. Right, so the format brush, so what you want to do with the format brush, and so the format brush is a great tool. And so you can use that copy the format and apply it somewhere else. If you double click the format brush, then you can keep applying that format to other places. And then what happens though is that then I've kind of lost the ability to go back and make changes to this paragraph style or this character style and have it auto-populate throughout the document. So the kind of the old way, or the kind of the first way that we start out with formatting, is we go through and we really pick out, we get it just formatted just how we want it, and we pick out the format and everything, and then we go around and we either copy and paste this and then change the words, or we can use the format painter and then we can apply that same formatting somewhere else. But then what we don't necessarily get from that process is the ability to go back and change go back and update all the formatting on all those places all at once. But there's so many times when it makes way more sense to use the format paintbrush. Most of the time, it just makes more sense to just go do things quick. It's only when I'm dealing with a large document that has a lot of repetitive, similar things happening that I want to go through and actually start using paragraph and character styles. If I'm doing something small, I just do it manually most of the time. So you get the legalese look of the serif small sections, but the body text is mostly legible. Like small numbers in parentheses. Yeah, and let's see what else we have here. Could you try making the section lowercase letters, serif italic, and leaving the rest sans serif? Maybe, no, it's not too busy at all. Those are all really good suggestions. And basically, whatever happens, you try it out and you do what works. It's not about what looks the best. It's about what's easiest to read and understand. And the fact of just changing from serif to sans serif to serif to sans serif is very helpful. Or going italics to non-italics or bold to non-bold. And the big thing is consistency. So I don't want to, like, for the definitions, do one style of formatting one place and a different style of formatting in a different place. That's the big no-no. As long as it's all consistent throughout the entire document, that's where all of a sudden you look at it and you say, wow, that's really professional. What happened here? Why does it suddenly look so professional? Well, it's actually because of the consistency and not because of the aesthetics. It took me a long time to learn that. I used to work and work and work on aesthetics, and I still do. And then I was finally able to work a lot faster when I realized that if I can just get consistency throughout the document, the aesthetics will 95% take care of itself. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys the other way to set up a heading. This is the way of not using your own names. This is the way of using the built-in names, but it gives you some other features that you don't get when you name them yourself. So let's just say I'm just going to pick out all these just numbers. Oh, no. I'll do as an example. Yeah, I'll just use the number 1, number 2. It's not the best example, but this will show. So let's say these were our chapter headings. Instead of those section numbers, let's say like these were each chapters, just for sake of discussion. Instead of giving them my own name, what I can do instead is I can go down to heading. Not header and footer, but heading. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 up to 6. H1 through H6, this is the same as HTML and CSS. These are built in. But for CSS, we call it H1, H2. So for like web pages, any kind of web page programming or web page formatting, they call it H1, H2, H3. But for word processing, they call it heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 up. And it keeps going up to heading 10, but I'm pretty sure CSS you usually only see up to H6. Well, we want to start with heading 1. That's going to be our main heading. That's going to be our big headings. And then they get smaller as we go, heading 2, heading 3. Maybe the ones that start with A. I'm not going to show that. I'm just going to focus on just one heading right now, just to show how these headings work and show that what's the benefit of using headings. Mostly there's not a benefit. Mostly you just want to use your own names that are easier to keep track of. But there is one benefit. Oops. These should all be heading 1. These should all be the same. Okay. So the one benefit of when you give them the heading name, and then to update them, it's the same as the other ones where you can like right click and modify to change the font size, to make it bigger, to make it smaller, to make it different. Oh, look, for the headings, it uses percentages and percentage values instead of font size also. The headings are weird. But they have a big benefit, which is that you can create table of contents and you can create hyperlinks to where you can jump around the document using them. That's never been a huge priority for me, so it's not something I've done a lot. I'll have to see if I can remember how to do this off the top of my head. Okay, so what you do is so here within the styles panel, off to the right, then there's also, in addition to all these tabs up on the top, then there's these other sub tabs off to the right. And if you're on Word, it's the same kind of thing where you click around everywhere, hover and read the little tooltip, hover and read, click around. But as long as you know that what you're looking for is the styles and then the page organizer, then you'll be able to find it. So there's properties, page information, styles, clip art, and the computer has reached the limit of its RAM. Oh no. It's all right. It'll just take a minute. The biggest drawback is that LibreOffice is going to want to recover all my documents for me. That's the big drawback of when LibreOffice, or when any word processing program. Don't send crash report. No, thank you. That's fine. You can recover them. Yes. Start. Go, go, go. The computer says I give up. Oh, we were so close to making a table of contents. Oh wait, it did it. It did it. Okay. So then, of all those side tabs off to the far right, the last one that I had not clicked on yet was the navigator. Wait, did we lose our headings? I think we lost our headings. Even though it auto-recovered it, it didn't auto-recover all of that. So I'm going to create some new headings. This is easy. Go to Styles, Heading, Heading 1. And we'll make another heading down here, Heading 1. It only counts them if they're a heading. You can only make a table of contents with the headings. So now we have some headings. So now if we go into the navigator, then you can see within the document navigator that these headings show up. And if it was more organized, they would say like Chapter 1, the beginning of the battle. Chapter 2, the rebels make progress. Chapter 3, a setback for the empire, or whatever, whatever the chapters are. But whatever you have assigned as an actual heading, they will all show up here. Not just heading 1, but heading 2, heading 3, like all the subheadings. Like, so let's say we do this one as heading 2. Do this one as heading 3. And then do this one as heading 1 again. Then if we go back into the navigator, then now you can see that all these different headings and subheadings. They're all organized. So the word processor has automatically organized the document according to headings. So if you're working on an actual book or an actual huge document, then now you get into the point where, oh, you actually want to use headings and not just your own made up style. And usually what I end up doing at that point is that I've already used my own made up style, and then I'll go back and change that made up style to headings. Because I'm not going to have that many of them throughout the document that I really need to make a table of contents out of. But if it's a huge 300-page document, then that's where we're starting to use headings. Or even like 70 pages. Depends on what you want to do with it. Now let's see if I can create a table of contents. It has been a long time since I've done this. I want to say insert. The lights are blinding me. Page number, field, header number. Might be tools. Hyperlink is another one. You can make hyperlinks to the different headers. I think it's tools. Chapter numbering. Footnotes and endnotes. See, these are the related tools here. These are the types of things that relate. Address, book source. I like to try to find it on my own before I go and look it up on. If I look in the help, it'll just take me to the internet anyways, but then I'll eventually look it up on the internet. The real important thing is to know that it's possible, because then you can always look it up. What I'm trying to share with you guys right now is just to know that these things can be done and show you how they're done. You'll forget exactly how to do them, but you'll know that they're possible to do, and then you'll be able to look them up and remember how to do them real quick. Say insert table of contents, LibreOffice. Do you guys hear the rain starting here? We got some real heat. It was 106, no, 105 yesterday. I meant to say LibreOffice, not LibreOfficer. Creating a table of contents. So they're going to give us the whole tutorial here. And what they're going to tell you is what I've just said, is you got to make sure to make them say heading. Oh, it was insert. It is insert. Look, insert table of contents and index. Insert. Oh, there it was. I was so close. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. Insert table of contents and index. Table of contents, index or bibliography. Index entry, bibliography entry. Oh yeah, so you have to create a bunch of index entries and or bibliography entries along the way, and then you can create your index or your bibliography. As far as the table of contents goes, you just have to create those headings, which I've already created. So I said insert table of contents, and then it pulled up this kind of table of contents wizard. Yeah, this is what I remember. This is what I remember. See, it's kind of like showing us how the subheadings are going to show up as well. Heading 1, subheading, and so forth. All kinds of options. I'm not going to go through and show you guys all that right now. You can mess with that on your own. I'm just going to say okay, but go figure, you can change all kinds of information about how it's going to look and how it's going to be laid out and everything. But the fundamental idea is that I said insert table of contents, go, and then what it did, as you can see, and the formatting is not exactly how I would want it, but what it did do is it just entered in, boom, that exact text, and then boom, that exact text, and then boom, that exact text, And then even the subheadings, all those ones specifically that had been set up as headings. And you can see they're over here in the page navigator as headings and subheadings, even like expandable and collapsible. And those came from our document wherever I had gone through and actually made these with a paragraph style of a heading, actually heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. And heading 1 are all the main chapters, but then whenever it finds something that's like that's a heading 1 also. Here, one that's a heading 2 or a heading 3, then those show up as sub-chapters. They show up nested, indented. So that's just not because you're going to want to do this anytime soon, but because there's going to be a day randomly, maybe 10 years from now, where you're going to be like, geez, I'd really like to be able to insert, maybe not exactly a table of contents, but just pull a bunch of information from this document and summarize it at the beginning as like unto a table of contents. This rain is getting kind of loud for me. I'm going to close the window. It's mainly important to know just so you know that it can be done, that it exists, and that that's the reason, that there is a legitimate reason why you would want to use the word heading for all your different titles, why you would want to go down here and use headings instead of using your own homemade name for the title. I strongly recommend using your own homemade names for all your headings until you get a document that's so big that you want to create some kind of summary, and then you can just go back and say, okay, this one, it was section title, but now I'm going to change it to heading 1. And if I need to change the formatting, I can do that easily. But now at least I've already got them formatted my own way. Then I can just come back and turn them into headings, and then I can create my table of contents. Yeah, if you update, I just remembered, if you update stuff, you have to recreate the table of contents afterwards. So usually you create the table of contents toward the end of the process, but actually you create it toward the middle of the process, and then you keep recreating it as you go. You have to recreate it and refresh it. Or you can't just ignore it. You have to do something to get it to refresh. Okay, let's check the comments here. I think this has been a good wrap up, but if there's more questions, I will answer your questions for as long as you want, and I guarantee you guys I'll be back another day to keep answering all these other questions, but I will gladly keep answering questions. Yeah, format brush is always a good option. It's definitely a better first option than even paragraph styles or character styles, and then for larger documents so that you can go back and auto update things is when we want the styles. Could you try making the section lowercase letters? Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, and also another example. One thing you can do is you can look at other people's work. Let's see a couple more people popping in here. I'm gonna read again. Oh, there's a lot more here. I'm gonna be reading these comments real quick here. Oh snap! There's tons here. Let me see what the bottom says here. I see Junie. Looks like Junie's going to sleep. Hello, Junie. I'm finishing up here anyways. I happened to see you in Sheldon's stream earlier. Do you think Matthew got word that part 3... Oh! Well, I know part 3 is on... I know part 3 is up, but I think it's only on Patreon. I don't spend money on anything. But I will be watching part 3 soon. Okay, I'm going back here and reviewing stuff with regard to formatting. If you look at typography, there's sections to the letter constructions. Serif, kern are the two most used. Oh, so kerning is the most... When you say kern, you mean like spacing the letters this way, right? Arial looks a little more legal than Tahoma. Okay, I could see that. So if it's more legal documents, yeah, but then with Tahoma, it's like a little bit softer. Maybe Tahoma is what I will use for trying to format the New Testament. Is it Chem or Kern? Ken. Chem is the dot at the end of a curved element. Oh man, I'm learning stuff here today. There's also a term for the elements that go above the middle of the line. Yeah, the top of the F and the parts that drop down below. Oh, I'm glad you forgot at least something there, Nailhead. I'm trying to keep up with you. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those words before when I like if you get into actually trying to figure out how to create a font and stuff, there's a lot of good vocabulary in there. Off with his headings. Thanks for clarifying. A spotted table of content. Oh yeah, you guys had already seen it before I did. See, yeah, I want LibreOffice offline, but I wasn't sure if I have it installed offline. I don't want to click on it if it's not installed. Thanks for staying a little bit longer. I'm happy to stick around, guys. You too. Good to have you tonight. Good, yeah, definitely nice having some technical questions. That's always fun. Blessings from Junie Shu. Oh, it's live on YouTube now, huh? Oh, cool. Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, kern. Okay. Now I think of kerning as the space between the letters. The serifs are obviously the little wide spots at the top, and like if there's a letter I, if it's just a solid line, that's like sans serif without serifs, and then serifs are if the I has the top letter stuff. Oh, I'm glad to. Hey, I'm glad to hear your inputs, Nailhead. I'm any refreshers on the vocabulary, any insights on the vocabulary. I'm glad to hear. The more, the better. Especially when it's friendly, respectful people. There are some trolls who come along, but not usually when I'm doing the word processing. Trolls don't show up for the word processing. Okay, so the other comment that I had is that if you just look at the built-in headers, or headings, excuse me, in terms of, and this is going back to, is it better to use sometimes some italics and sometimes some serif and sometimes some bold and sometimes some not bold? And I just want to point out that if you just go around and try out the different built-in headings, some of them are italics, some of them are not. And on the built-in H1, H2, H3 that you'll find on web pages, you'll see even more variety in terms of whether or not there's serif or sans serif and so forth. If you look at t-shirts and posters and just draw inspiration wherever you go, you'll see the mixture of different fonts and specifically italics, serif combined with bold, sans, just all different varieties of combinations. And some combinations definitely work better than others, and you kind of get a feel for that. In general, the way to do it is you start out with your headings being sans serif bold and with your text being serif. And generally you never want your main text to be bold unless it's part of some big heading or something. There are exceptions to all of those rules, but those are just principles. Ooh, a lot of logos use negative space effectively with the letters. I think FedEx has a really good one with that regard. It's a good comment. Merriam-Webster is my go-to when Leo.org doesn't cut it. Leo.org. I don't even know about Leo.org. But my lookup, oh, you have an 1898 Webster's Dictionary? Oh, that's nice. Wow. That's pretty cool. I bet it's carefully cared for. I bet it's weathered. Wow. That's neat. I wonder if I have any neat books around here to show off right now. Not really. Oh, I do have one. I do have one. Where is it? This one's pretty good. Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. Wait, let me see if I got this visible. Hang on. Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 72. Hunter S. Thompson. This is not nearly as classic, not nearly as special as the Merriam-Webster 1898 edition, but this is a slightly vintage book, and it's one that I really have been enjoying so far. I've been reading this. This is my most recent casual reading. The relief embossed cardboard cover. It's just kind of like the way I'm imagining it in my mind. I want to, you know what I want to do? Yeah. That type of, that's a variation of Cooper. Common in the early to mid 70s, but we're talking about the late 1800s, the embossed cardboard cover. I just want to smell that book. I bet the first thing you did when you got it is start smelling it. I bet it just has just like a rich biome of different book library collected aromas. Oh, Cooper is a font. Oh. Probably don't have it here. No. I think I've seen that one. It's like that 60s, 70s font, huh? I just want to see what they look like. I bet it's got the big, heavy, it's kind of like cowboy style. Let's see. The font sample looks like this. Let's see. What? Where's this? Oh, here it is. Oh, it's not exactly what I was expecting. Can I make it bold? Bold. I don't know. I'll have to look at some more samples, but I'm interested in fonts. However, one Burger King, yeah, it's kind of a thicker. See, yeah, there's like a 70s version of this font right here, but thicker, kind of like bold, that I feel like I've seen a lot in like 60s. Yeah, that's not it at all. Oh, there we go. Image. See, I'm trying to not use AI with my searches because I don't want to use AI. Yeah, there it is. That's it. The Burger King font. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it is. It really just brings you back to like the late 70s and early 80s. What brings me back, I guess, to the early 80s because this font was still around in that time period and I'd see it back then. Here's what I will generally say about fonts and kind of how I feel about them. I love them, I'm interested in them, and I hardly think about them or use them. And then when the time comes, I'll just focus on fonts. So much to know, and like it's so much information to keep my mind on. A refreshed 1940s Art Deco font. Your book title is something else then. Which book title? This one? Oh, this one. Oh, no, this one. Oh, is that what you were talking about? Oh, this is like a 70s. Yeah, I could not possibly tell you. I could not possibly tell you and like look at a font and just know what kind of font it is. But that's cool. You've got all those fonts that you're familiar with. For me, it's a lot of information to keep straight, and I've chosen to deprioritize fonts. Any kind of Art Deco style I'm into. Vintage in general. Anything that looks like old and crappy and ugly, I save it in a closet for about 5 to 10 years. I pull it back out, and everyone's like, wow, that thing's so cool. How'd you get that? It doesn't even take like 20 years for the trends to come back around. They come back around like every 5 years now. I love vintage stuff. I will start trying to find excuses to use the Cooper font though. Now that I know what it is, I have the name fresh in my mind. Okay, that covered the topic of headings instead of headers. Yes, I do. I do want to be blown away. 31 to 34 shell oil map cover art. 1931 to 1934 shell oil map cover art. No, it's this one, isn't it? So to me, I look at this and I just think it's like nicely done and readable, and it looks almost the same as the fonts that are used modern currently. It doesn't look terribly different from modern stuff, except for maybe the way the word shell is going down like that. Let's see another one. Ooh, that's a really nice Art Deco illustration of that sports car. Similar. It's very minimal. It's very minimal. It doesn't have a whole bunch of busy extra nonsense going on. Oh, here we see some varied use of different sizes and styles. Upper and lowercase, all uppercase, and then all uppercase but a much smaller letter size. Oh, these are nice. These are nice fonts, like that word standard right there. Georgia, those are nice looking. That's right there is some nice Art Deco uh, words. Oh yeah, the compass, the Art Deco compass. And look at how much the fonts change here. I guess partly it's just using different colors, red and blue. Standard Oil Company has clearly a different font, and that's a nice Art Deco kind of font. That S for standard, that's an unusual S right there. It's almost like a backwards Z. Oh, and then here's a really simple font. Right there, standard motor oil. Yeah, vintage packaging, vintage printing is cool. I got interested in that. That's my detailed look at that flyer, the stuff that stands out to me. Okay, I am definitely finishing up now. I'm definitely in the final minutes of this final moment of this stream. Oh wait, nope. I'm not. Nope. There's more chat. I take back what I say. I'm always, if there's people talking here, Nailhead, if you're still, I thought I had the chat up and I thought it was showing the updates, but it was just showing what was already there. Broadsheet. The one with the car, girl, and dog and guy. Okay, I'll find that one. Type style is printed a font. A type style is printed a font is digital. A typeface is just a digital version of a font. So if you want to consider it, the 1920s advertised to the very rich, and the artwork was hand-drawn to be of the finest quality. 1930s started to economize the illustration field. Color photography became possible to print in magazines in the late 30s, but was still prohibitively expensive. Color photography became more cost-effective in the early 50s. The illustration era lasted until the early 70s, mid-80s. Sure, and Norman Rockwell was like at the height of the illustration era. Man, that's so interesting to think about. And those stylized, kind of like broad-shouldered male figures from the Art Deco era. The idea that Art Deco would have evolved during an affluent period of time. All right, let's see. I don't want no AI in my life. What is it? What is it about this particular image? The illustration. The illustration is timeless. The use of color. The Shell logo is old-fashioned, but it's not particularly different. the license plates just look, this is just really nice artistry. But what is it about this image that Nailhead finds so compelling? That's what I'm trying to kind of look at this and figure out. I like this one. This is compelling to me. The quick starting pair, Shell, oil, and petrol. I like this image. Art Fitzpatrick and Van Kaufman were a team of illustrators. Fitz did the cars and Kaufman did the people. They were so good they worked for Buick and then Pontiac until the early 70s, when most other companies had switched to photography. Illustrations could exaggerate features and de-emphasize others. Jasper says, this is exactly one's gut feeling. Nice to have someone confirm this, describing the circumstances of illustration history. Yeah, it really, it brings a lot of different concepts together. The Wire Fox Terrier was the it dog of the 30s. The most famous one was named Asta. It is a trifold. The map folds out to be a larger image. The ones besides the gramophone. I don't know what gramophone is. So this is the it dog right there. It appears to be a terrier of some sort. Yeah, there's this real, like, it's like a whole art style from that period of these idealized features. The thing I remember, I've not studied up on this as much, I think, as Nailhead has, but I remember the men would have these really broad shoulders and like strong jaw lines and stuff. This is my style of art right here. Abstract, but not totally abstract. Somewhat realistic, somewhat abstract. I think we're done with the document. We moved on to other topics, so I'm not going to worry about coming and reviewing the document again. Let me finish up. Until the 1960s, a German Shepherd was called a police dog colloquially. Yeah. What else happened? Times have changed. All kinds of words have changed. Art styles have changed. These kids grow up, they can draw like South Park style artwork just from a young age. They can draw in styles that I'm not able to really keep up with sometimes. I'm sometimes impressed by the little kids. I'm like trying to teach them stuff, but they're teaching me stuff. Dog called Borzoi. Lassie was well trained. Who else was famous? Mr. Ed the horse. Those are all more recent. Yeah, I don't know all my 1920s history too well. So, I'm interested in silent films, though. I've been interested in silent films a long time. 1940s, the collie and poodles became popular. French bulldogs have had a run of popularity. I think French bulldogs have peaked. They've already peaked, and now we're on to other things. 1960s, the smaller terrier, like on the Patty Duke show. Oh yeah, so I've heard of the Patty Duke Show. I've never seen the Patty Duke Show. It's really interesting to think about different dogs becoming popular over time. And all I do is for you. Didn't I do it for you when all I do is for you? That just that just that sound that has a light spirit to it. Just to hear those words. Didn't I do it for you when all I do is for you? Oh, here's a nice one. These are my favorite colors, is gold and red. It's my favorite color pairing. Maybe a little bit more muted than these ones, but generally I like gold and red together. Okay, this live stream is wrapping up. It has been a wonderful time for me, at least. I've enjoyed myself immensely, and it's nice to be able to talk a little more in detail about some of this formatting stuff. And then now I get to talk about some other topics and kind of absorb some information. Artwork was meant to convey permanence. Showed the company wasn't going to disappear the next day. And there's something to be said now in modernity for stuff that's not made from AI, stuff that's actually made by a person. I'm not totally opposed to AI. I'm just trying to not use AI or dramatically limit my use of AI. I'm not opposed to AI. Okay, we'll finish up with some music. This has been a live stream of character styles, first and foremost. Utah ethics, then illustration, Art Deco. I don't know if you could actually hear me with all this music. I'm trying to announce on the way out. Turn the music down a little bit. This has been a live stream about character styles, Utah ethics rules, Art Deco illustrations, and the evolution of the popularity of different types of dogs. AI will end up having a font style that will be emblematic of the 2020s. That all caps pseudo official looking stuff, right? And all like the yellow cap locks letters on the videos and stuff. Oh yeah, in like 15, 20 years, people will be looking back and being like, oh my gosh, that's so 2020s. You have character in spades. Character style in spades. That's a nice thing to say. Let me find some more music. Oh, here's one. This will be our exit tune for this evening. Thank you, friends. Until next time, it's been fun. Oh, Ecosia, I've just heard of that. Thank you for that recommendation. I will check it out. Thanks for hanging out, guys. It's been fun chatting. And I'll be back again another time, one of these days. Until then.